Hi, I'm Bill Laberis. I'm the Senior Editorial Director at IDG's Custom Solutions Group. And I'm joined here today by Bob Gourley. Now, Bob's a very popular blogger on the subject of enterprise security, and we're going to be talking about big data. Now, I've been following IT for about 30 years, and I can't get my hands around what big data is. I think it's important. So just give us a little elevator pitch on just what big data is.
Bill, you hear that term a lot nowadays, big data, and the way I first express it is it's the amount of data that you cannot currently analyze with your existing architecture. You will need to redesign in order to execute big data concepts. Now, big data also has more technical definitions, but if you think of that approach and you think of what can I not do that I want to do with my data, what analysis can I run over my existing data, or what could I do if I had larger quantities of data? That's big data.
So it's taking care of a lot of data you cannot take care of right now, but you need to.
Yes, and so you'll need to redesign your, not just data storage, but your the way you process the data, the way you back it up, the way you communicate with it. Big data approaches encompass that.
Mm-hmm. So in that context, Bob, I would presume that there are some pretty definite security ramifications and security concerns around big data. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is, and for a lot of reasons. One is the greatest big data solutions are one where you bring all the information you need together in one place because you're going to be doing a lot of analysis over it fast, perhaps with thousands of processors, but it's in one distributed pool in one big data center. So you need to think, how are you going to protect that data? Well, you need a good backup mechanism to back it up off-site, and it needs to be fast and instantaneous, and so that's a security concern. You also need to protect that data from intrusion, of course. You do not want anybody with getting access to your data and compromising it or changing it in any way. So there are those kind of security concerns when you put all of your data together in one large big data store.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this is obviously, no pun intended, a big problem for CIOs to get their hands around. What might you suggest they do in order to at least initiate the process of coming to grips with big data and the things they need to do to deal with it more effectively?
The number one suggestion I have is read the open source community and the writings that you'll see on the apache.org site for Hadoop, for example. Read the many tutorials and concepts provided by Cloudera on the Cloudera site, which give you insights on how to implement big data solutions of all types. So start with the reading. There's a very large and growing community of people providing big data solutions and lots of analytical work going into this.
Mm-hmm. And if we take a look at the vendor community, at least some of the bigger vendors that are out there, we don't have to necessarily name any of them, but what are they doing to, again, help the CIOs and help the IT community deal more effectively with big data?
You know, from what I see, almost all of the vendors are realizing that the CIOs and the CTOs and the CISOs are needing this kind of big data approach. And they are turning to the leaders of the e-commerce world to see what they are doing in big data. Key among them is Facebook, with over 700 million users, with their data being presented to them, rendered instantaneously. That's a wonderful working big data solution. Another is Twitter, with not only getting the updates of people's Twitter feeds, but seeing who to follow and what your other connections are doing via Twitter. That is a great big data implementation. Another is LinkedIn, which we all know and appreciate and like, and there too you're seeing your contacts, what they're up to, what they want you to know about themselves, instantaneously rendered for you every time you log on. That's a great big data approach, and the IT vendors are looking at that plus other solutions and finding ways to bring those kind of capabilities into the enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Well, Bob Gourley, some big thoughts on big data. Thank you very much for that all.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, I'm Bill Laberis from IDG saying thank you for joining me as well.